Rent arrears and the £1.7 billion solution. Today, I'm joined by Julie Ford, who is a letting agent consultant, and she's here to talk about the not very well known fund of £1.7 billion that helps tenants with their rent arrears. Julie, talk to me.
It's a very little known secret that I think everybody in the industry should know. So basically, there is £1.7 billion worth of funding available every year for tenants to tap into if they are struggling to pay their rent arrears. This money is available directly from local councils, which is funding that's been given directly by the government. But there's also £380 million available from local charities, legacies and trusts, all of which can be tapped into to pay off rent arrears, regardless of how significant those rent arrears are.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so I can talk through some of the cases that I've dealt with to give examples if you'd like.
The case that how I'd like to know some stories,
hmm
and I would also like to and how to access this stuff.
Okay, so let's start with how to access. So the council funding is quite easy to access as long as you need, well, first of all, you need to build up a good rapport with your housing department. That in itself is a challenge and probably a video for another day. Most of the councils are not that forthcoming with how much funding they have available, but you can find that on the local government website. So realistically, if you've got a tenant in rent arrears, this is all about maintaining the tenancy. So if the rent arrears get paid off, the tenant gets to stay. That's the key. Most councils will happily pay rent arrears rather than have somebody come onto their homelessness list. On average, it costs about £32,000 from the second somebody comes on the homelessness register for them actually being housed under homeless duty. So if councils can save that simply by taking money out of a different pot, they will certainly do that. Plus, it ticks the first box for their prevention duty, which is the first step in homelessness.
And you say build a relationship. Why? Surely it's just a tick a box and fill a form in online.
It isn't actually. Every time you want to get funding for a tenant who's in rent arrears, you have to put their story forward almost case by case. So having a good relationship with the officer that deals with those funding is great, because then you can pick up the phone and speak to John and say, look, I've got this case. How do you think we can go? What can we get for this?
I mean, what if the tenant then reneges and is back there again in a year's time? Can they have a second dip of the bomb?
Usually not, but again, it's council by council, to be honest with you. And certainly when you're looking at charity funding, they won't support again. So when I've worked with cases like this, I will actually support the tenant to join up to Step Change or another debt charity, so that Step Change will then continue to handhold to make sure they don't get back into that circle again whilst the rent arrears have been paid off. And 9 times out of 10, when you're applying to a charity or the council, the rent arrears will be paid, or the fund will be paid out within a few weeks. Whereas if you're waiting to go to court, that could be a good few months. So it reduces the amount of arrears down because you're not building them up, and also supports the tenant not to get back into that circle.
And are you
again.
recommending agents contact the tenant or on their behalf? Or, I mean, the amount of tenants that just put their head in the sand, you can't even talk to them.
That is a huge problem. Putting their head in the sand is a big problem. And I would say to anybody, the key time to get in touch with a tenant is when they're a day late or a penny short. Don't leave it until they're 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 months. It's too late.
Why is it too late?
Because you don't know what else is going on in their lives. They haven't just stopped paying their rent because they've decided, I no longer need to pay rent. There's probably something going on. Have they lost their job? Has there been a bereavement in the family? If you can understand the problem, 9 times out of 10, it's much easier to find a solution. Now, don't get me wrong, you are going to get tenants who just are, I won't pay. Not a lot you can do with them. They've got to go to court. But if it's someone who can't pay, then there are lots of solutions out there for them.
Julie, thank you for your time today. Please put your comments in the reply section on your experience by accessing that fund, and help the rest of the letting agents watching this become better agents and ultimately helping their landlords. Thank you.